Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Want to give you guys an update on what is that Bloodborne on PC? No, it's not actually Bloodborne getting a native release on PC. However, the emulated version is getting incredibly spicy as far as how that's performing. Credit to Bonfire VN, the YouTube channel, for uploading a video in comparison to the PS5 emulated version of that as well. Running incredibly well. You've got a 60 FPS mod in there as well. This is on the Shad PS4 emulator. We'll talk about that briefly, and then also I want to spend some time talking about Tim Sweeney's comments on the future of gaming. No, this isn't the segment where I crap on Tim Sweeney. I do disagree with a lot of the things he says. I also want to explain some of the things he says, and I don't know if he agrees or disagrees with me. He didn't really explain in the context that I am going to talk about it, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, right off the bat, I want to give you guys a heads up. Bloodborne on PC is getting closer to completion. There is a 60 FPS patch done by Lance McDonald, and they are still working on fixes, but looking at it, just running in action, man, this is performing incredibly well. And as far as overall, there are some missing graphical effects and things like that, but it is making a considerable amount of progress. And it's a case of, if Sony ain't gonna do it anytime in the near future, damn it, people are gonna do it themselves. It is kind of insane to me, and I do believe, man, maybe this is me giving Sony too much credit. Like, I crap on Sony a lot, but at the same time, I gotta think anybody with half a functioning brain cell has to realize that Bloodborne Remastered would be a license to print money. Like, if you're talking about a game that'll get people to be like, damn it, I don't want to link a PSN account, I don't want to give Sony my information, but I gotta do it for this game, Bloodborne Remastered would be that, I would think. And even if it was just released on PlayStation 5 as a native release, a license to print money, but Sony has just not been doing it. My thought process is this, and maybe this is me giving Sony too much credit and they're just being dumb. We're getting the another release of Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, which nobody asked for, but my thought process is this, that Sony, I imagine, is very well aware that Bloodborne Remastered is a license to print money, but for the foreseeable future, you get one shot at that. One bullet in the chamber, so to speak. You get one opportunity to do that, and then it gets iced for another 10 years, 20 years, or maybe it won't be, it's not going to be 20 years, but 10 years or so until you can do another re-release. At least that's what I would think. I feel like Bloodborne, and again, this might be me giving Sony too much credit, next year is the 10th anniversary. I just feel like it's going to get announced, and 2025, I pray to God, is the year that Sony gets serious and realizes that it is time to rebuild some of our goodwill. You can't overnight drop a bunch of big first-party games, but they've got Ghost of Yotei dropping next year. They've got Death Stranding 2, which is a third-party exclusive. And then you throw in like a Bloodborne Remaster, and if that Siren game ends up being true, I'm just throwing out the idea of Bloodborne Remaster. It's not like that's a game that's going to take a 5-year dev cycle or anything like that. I am just throwing out the idea that, you know, I think it's going to be out next year for the 10th anniversary. I just think it makes too much sense, and I would be appalled at Sony for doing a Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster but not doing Bloodborne Remaster for the 10th anniversary. Just makes all the sense in the world. But if we're not going to get it, at the very least, the talented folks are working on getting it running better on PC, looking better on PC, and it's making quite a lot of progress, so that is incredibly exciting to see. Hopefully that progress does continue at a rapid rate. You know, it's crazy that PlayStation 3 emulation just exploded and exponentially ramped up as far as development on that goes, and Bloodborne, and now we're shifting to getting Bloodborne running, and that's making a lot of good progress. PS3 emulation, you know, growing up, I knew that there were talented folks trying to get RPCS3 off the ground, but it was always like, man, I knew about the PS3 cell architecture growing up in the PS3 era when I was like 12 years old. If I knew about it and how much of a nightmare that was, it was like, it was obviously clearly a nightmare, but they figured it out. It's not, RPCS3 isn't perfect, but it's working well enough. But nonetheless, that's a totally different topic, and at the very least, Bloodborne making quite a lot of progress. So if Sony ain't gonna give us an effing release next year, which would be promotional malpractice, business malpractice, in the highest of order, if you want to spend $1 billion on Concord, on Last of Us Factions that's getting canceled, on Fair Game, on Horizon multiplayer, do us a solid and just give us Bloodborne Remastered next year for the 10th anniversary. Is that too much? But if it doesn't come to fruition, at least we'll have an alternative way to play it. Am I right? Alright, moving on from that, I do want to quickly cover this. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney has talked a little bit about the future of gaming and addressing it today at the Unreal Fest in Seattle, while talking a bit about the future of gaming, noting one of the manifestations we're seeing right now is that a lot of games are released with high budgets and they're not selling nearly as well as expected, whereas other games are going incredibly strong. What we're seeing is a real trend where players are gravitating toward the really big games where they can play with more of their friends. The perceived value of a game, he continued, grows in proportion to the number of your friends that you can connect to. Some people will call it the metaverse, and we're not all in agreement on what that means. Some people, when they hear the word metaverse, they think of what Facebook is doing with VR and now AR. Some people use the metaverse to describe everything they don't like about the current Fortnite season. So I have a lot of opinions on this and the idea of this. Yes, I totally understand that the ultimate gravy train, the pie in the sky, so to speak, that so many publishers and developers chase after is within the live service model. I get that. I understand that. Look at Fortnite, Warzone, League of Legends. The games that are making perpetual revenue year over year and a lot of money year over year in this concurrent revenue cycle is the live service titles. However, there is a fundamental problem with live service games in the sense that they just can't all exist and be successful. They cannot. It is damn near impossible for all of them to be successful. Actually, it is impossible for all of them to be successful, even more so than titles that come out that aren't live service. And the reason for that is, much like life, there is a healthy time for a game to ultimately die. That is the reality of how gaming in an offline and non-live service model goes. Even multiplayer games can exist and not be live service. However, for a live service game to be successful, the idea is that they generate revenue in perpetuity for years and years and years. And even more so than money, the commitment that a title like that requires is time. I'm sorry, you guys. This is the reality of life. We all got a finite time on our hands. And for a lot of these games coming out, for the expectation to be that the user is going to spend hour after hour, month after month, year after year playing these games, it's just not realistic. Some games can do it and those games will ultimately be wildly successful. But the reality is so many more games are going to flop in this territory because these games are not going in the cycle that, let me remind you, is very healthy for non-live service games to come out, like a Black Myth Wukong, like a Pal World, like an Elden Ring. These games that are also wildly successful, but ultimately they come out, they have a surge of player interest, and then they ultimately die out. Maybe die out's a little bit strong. They'll always be playable, but the interest wanes and the interest goes down. You'll see articles, 80% of Black Myth Wukong players are gone. You know why they're gone? Because they beat the game and they're moving on to the next game and they're spending money on the next title that they're gonna play. This is a healthy cycle for gaming to go instead of the live service model. The live service model obviously can be incredibly successful, but when the gimmick is you're throwing 25 games at the wall and you're just praying to God that 2 or 3 of them stick, you're gonna get 22 flops, 23 flops. Look at Sony. Yeah, Helldivers 2 was successful. Concord, absolute flop, one of the biggest flops in gaming history. Last of Us Factions, we don't even know about that game because it got canceled, but they sunk millions upon millions of dollars into that game. That is the issue with chasing this world where, oh, this is the game that I have so many friends that are playing it. Yeah, that's great if you can create a game like that, but ultimately, those games are gonna be limited. Inherently, they're gonna be limited. There's so much time to go around. Now, I do think dialogue about a game between friends, incredibly impactful for the success of a game. In the social media era, that is incredibly impactful, but that exists for the non-live service games as well. Black Myth Wukong, the reason that game was so successful was the online dialogue and the chatter about the game that made it explode. Same thing with Stellar Blade. That idea of, oh, this is what my friends are playing, so I'm gonna play it too. I agree with that concept, but I don't think that is only applicable to live service titles. I think that's applicable to single-player games as well. Word of mouth is a very powerful thing, especially in today's gaming climate. So I actually agree with them in the sense that the idea of this metaverse or whatever, or what my friends are playing, I think that has a lot of merit to it. I do think applying that to live service and just chasing live service nonstop, that is where we are going to run into problems, because live service has an inherent problem, and it will always have an inherent problem because of how the business model is that time is a finite asset for all of us. That is a reality that they cannot break. They cannot beat Father Time, and that is just something they got to accept. But that'll do it for me. Again, Bloodborne, this PC version, if you want to call it that, emulated from the Shad PS4 emulator, making a lot of progress and looking quite good. And then also wanted to talk about Tim Sweeney's takes. Again, I'm not here to crap all over Tim Sweeney. There's actually the idea of this, what my friends are playing. I think that idea makes a lot of sense, but I don't think it should just be applied to, oh, this is a live service game, and my friends are playing it, and that's going to spread like wildfire. That can work as well. Helldivers 2 was very much that as well, but it can apply to non-live service games as well. But that'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.